morning, Athens, and welcome to Education Matters, the official voice of youth. Education Matters is sponsored by your local internet station, BU Radio-Athens. Check it out on BURadioAthens.com. My name is Aiden, Dowdy, and I'm here with my co-host,
Makai
and Thomas Smith.
We have our special guest here today.
What's up? How you doing? Well, you didn't introduce me, so I will tell them who I am. I'm Montu Miller, educator, hip hop ambassador, and just boots on the ground organizer.
So I have a question to start it off. What are the 9 elements of hip hop?
The 9 elements. You want the whole 9.
Yes.
So, there's b-boying, breakdancing. Mm-hmm. There's graffiti art, that's kind of like our written language, right? There's DJing, that links all the way back to the drum within the community. We gotta have somewhere to do our beats. There's the MC, that's our voice, beatboxing, that's where we can get a beat where if we don't have no electricity, we can still rock, right? There's street fashion, the way we dress, street language, the way we talk, and street knowledge, everything that we gain in our experiences.
Come on.
I thought the MC stood for the main character.
No. There is no main character. It's a community, so you can't really look at it like the MC is the main character, because in fact, the DJ came before the MC.
Come on, teach.
Yep. So, you can't really have the main character, because we all play a part. It's sort of like you got to look at it like a community, and every piece is the community. You have your educators, you have your doctors, you have people to pick up trash, you have people to do all kinds of stuff. So, just like in our community, we have a little bit of everything. Everybody's playing a part.
I have 2 questions for you. Where was hip hop started, and how was it started?
Okay, that's a very good question. Where? Nobody knows where. So this year we are celebrating 50 years, and it's like we are. It's kind of symbolic. It's making us. It's shooting us to the stars and letting everybody know who we are. But if we get technical, hip hop is older than 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So the when is hard. It's really hard to pinpoint the exact moment. We do celebrate, 50 years with DJ Cool Hurt, his party at 1520 Sedgwick. So that is kind of like, that's our symbolic birth, And the other question, you said where and when. Yeah, them are hard questions to answer. You could talk to some hip hop intellectuals, people who really study the thing, and they'll probably give you some times and some dates, some phases that happened. But there was really a lot of different phases that happened, because hip hop kind of all came together, because there was the graffiti movement that wasn't really attached completely to hip hop, and then you had the b-boys where they was dancing, and you had people kind of partying. When it was all brought together, it was actually hip hop. Because you'll talk to some graffiti artists and they'll say, "Oh, we was before hip hop," and they was. So there was these movements that was going on, but hip hop was when all these movements kind of converged in these spaces all around the country. And most people will say hip hop started in New York, but that's debatable. So it just depends.
Yeah.
And what is the oldest element out of the 9 elements of hip hop?
If I had to pinpoint it, I would say the DJ, because we was rocking parties. They were rocking parties. These young dudes would back then it was like whoever had the most speakers and the biggest bass. So you would get these DJs that would come out and just play in the park, play house parties. So that's when. They're the first, because you gotta think about it, they kind of created this space where everybody came to rock. So then you had the graffiti artists come, you had the b-boys come, then you had these break beats, right? There was these parts in the thing in between songs. So then they started handing the mic to their boy, because their boy he had a little flow, and when I say flow, it was he might have just been real clever, say real clever things on the mic, to kind of get in between, and that started expanding. Went from just them doing announcements and you know, saying little clever stuff in between the stuff, that eventually they started coming up with rhymes, and then it started getting put on, and then it was just like all that happened, and then like all these energies kind of converged and created what we now call hip hop. Yeah.
So, Mr. Miller, what I want to know is, with the way Dr. Dre, Busta Rhymes, all those great rappers used to rap back in the day, can you tell me how you feel about how the rap game has improved and whether or not it's been positive or negative, and how you feel about that?
I think there is negativity in it, but I have this discussion with some heads all the time. There's honestly not that much going on in hip hop today that wasn't going on in hip hop when we was doing it. You know, like in the 90s, you could even say in the 80s. The difference was they highlighted more diverse, whereas now they're only highlighting like the party music, the young music. Back in the day, they would highlight that, because we had Uncle Luke and we had all kind of rappers. Spice One, you know, it was quote unquote gangster music, but you'd hear gangster music, you hear party music, then you'd hear like Tribe and them, and they had like what they would consider backpack music, and they was just kind of really just vibing out. Then you had like some hardcore people that was down pro-black, but you could hear all that on the radio. What's changed is now they focused in on just like the party music, you know. So I'd say in that aspect it has become negative. But as far as our community is concerned, like, we look at some of these little young kids just like hip hop, anything else. You know, there's some heads that'll say that ain't hip hop. No, that is hip hop. That's a part of my culture, even if I don't like it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I might have a little brother that wows out. Right. I'm a senior in high school. I got a little elementary or middle school brother that's wilding out. He ain't getting good grades. He wilding out on the streets, whatever. Still my brother. You know what I'm saying? It's still my brother. I can't. What I'm gonna just say? Oh, it ain't my brother. No, I can't do that. But what we do is, and what we're trying to do now is, like, grab these young kids and like kind of get in their ear about like, okay, you got all these songs. Maybe do this kind of song. Maybe do this. Maybe take your money and invest it in this instead of like jewelry and cars. You know. So we're trying to like create an educational movement within what's always been here, but like it's just a little bit harder with y'all's generation, because y'all are so distracted. Like y'all won't do this a lot. Like where I can just have you right here, because y'all are so distracted. I'm trying to talk to you and you on your phone. You know, I'm trying to give you some jewels and you tearing off in space because your attention span is like that. You know, so it's harder these days to like mold hip hop and push it into these directions that it should go. And you know, we have our Kendricks, you know, our J. Cole's, and I can name, you know, a bunch of people that like they doing it. You know what I'm saying? And we just got to be able to have to where when y'all listen to your music, you like, there's more than just this one kind of hip hop, of this one kind of music. I need to listen to a diverse, you know, I need to be able to even sometimes get outside of the hip hop sound. I need to be able to listen to some softer music, because you can't listen to hard music all the time. You can't listen to music where it's all they're trying to tell you about is how much money they got. Like you can't listen to the same thing, because it's not gonna expand your mind. You know what I'm saying? Your mind has to be able to expand, because that's what we're here for. We're here to evolve. And you may start in a sore spot, which is okay, but we need to be able to like help you evolve to like where you're not in that sore spot no more. You're not stuck. You're not just sitting there and it's like, oh well, my family don't have no money. You know, I don't got no clothes, and and then next thing you know, like somebody offer you something simple, you know what I'm saying? Here, I need you to do this for $100. You ain't got no money, so you're gonna do it. But our goal is to like create alternatives so we can like actually y'all sit down, listen to it, actually y'all make some money, actually you invest your money, and it becomes like more valuable to the community. So then you have like this hip hop movement that's going on in the community along with these other movements that's going on, and if we're all doing it for the community, then we start to see the community get better. But it's rough these days because there's so many distractions in the world.
Come on.
And going off of that as well, why do you think the youth has been pushed into that certain direction of hip hop?
Because that's all they hear. Like when we was coming up, Like we was able to hear more than just Uncle Luke. You know what I'm saying? 2 Live Crew, Salt and Pepper. We got to hear a little bit of everything. So when the pro-black movement came, like we was listening. You know, when Public Enemy came and KRS-One and all them came, we was listening. You know, we was also listening. I mean, you ask any of y'all's parents or whoever, however old they are, what they listen to, they gonna give you a diverse. It's gonna be from gangster rap to East Coast to West Coast to some old pro-black stuff to some just raunchy, like ratchet stuff. Like we listened to everything back in the day. Whereas nowadays, y'all are just bombarded with nothing but like money, clothes, women, drugs. Like that's all y'all are bombarded with. So like y'all don't even have a choice to have an alternative unless you are evolved enough where someone's pushing you and saying, okay, listen to this, do this. But they don't have that as much these days because it's like, again, I go back to that. It's like there's so much noise in the world right now. Sometimes it's even hard for the elders to hear. You know what I'm saying? So we're trying to get away from the noise ourselves so we can like get to you and stop the noise with you so we can all kind of come together and like block out the noise and like go down this lane of prosperity. And that way we're out of poverty. We're out of miseducation. We're out of all these detriments, these things that are happening to society that like we're at a turning point right now. Like it's sink or swim. Like in a minute, like we gonna be gone. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, they're literally trying to eliminate the black male.
Come on.
In every aspect.
Come on,
so,
teach right now.
Like until if we don't wake up, like we're gone. Like black men will not exist. Like we just won't. They'll stop putting us in stuff. You won't see us in the schools no more. We'll be gone. You know what I'm saying? And for some people that's hard to believe, but we ain't that far away from it right now.
Come on, bro Miller. I love it. In the aspect that you talked about, we listened to a variety of music, okay? It was like a toolbox. You had something for every occasion. As big as we were into the hip-hop and things, but we had our slow songs, okay? I think about LL Cool J. He took it so real, he made I Need Love, and it changed the whole hip-hop game. Yeah. You know, and that was like he was saying. We were bombarded, but we were bombarded with stuff from every direction. Right. Self-destruction. Okay, I remember the biggest rappers would get together and come together in a community and make one song.
When the last time you heard a posse cut?
You haven't. That's what I'm saying. and it was so enlightening for us, and that's why I love when you talked about it, how DJs took to the area and created a space for everybody to come in and grace that space so you could feel free. It was a meeting spot for us. You know, and I think about that. Dancers, MCs, and everybody did more than one thing in it. Okay.
So back in the day where I'm from, and probably not just where I'm from, everybody was called a b-boy.
That's right.
Now when you say b-boy, it kind of means dancer, but b-boy meant like during my spare time, I'm like trying to do some graffiti, I'm trying to dance, I'm trying to rhyme, I need to know how to make these beats. Like we was trying to do everything. We was more like all around hip hoppers. Now it's like everybody kind of like specializes. Whereas back in the day it was more like, you know, like Fat Joe and KRS-One are graffiti artists.
Yeah, they paint. Yeah. You know, it was this big pot of gumbo that we was in, and everything tastes. Okay, the gumbo didn't taste good if you remove some part of it. See, and that was so fascinating for us. With this is making beats. Okay, you heard the first thing Mr. Miller said. What is it? We made our own beats, and even if we didn't have no machine to make beats, we created a form of making beats called beatboxing.
Even if we ain't have no electricity, we still gonna rock.
We're gonna rock anyway. So that was so powerful for me, and I love how he told us the truth about it. We don't know where it started. We just have the birth that they gave us, but drums. He took us back to the essence of it. We've been knocking on drums in the motherland.
And the griot is the MC.
See,
you know, and we had community dancers, which are the breakers.
Yes.
You know, we had the knowledge, everything that happened in, you know, in African societies. We basically somehow it all came back together in the form of hip hop, and that's why it's so powerful, because we really do have direct link to what they call the motherland.
Yeah. And we'll return right after this commercial break here on Education Matters with 50 years of hip hop with our special guest, Mr. Montu Miller.
Welcome back to Education Matters, the official voice of the youth. Education Matters is sponsored by your local internet station, Radio-Athens. Check it out at Radio-Athens.com. Before we go back to start today's show, Kareem will give us our words to grow on.
Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. By Winston Churchill.
All right, before we went into the break, we were discussing hip hop. We covered the 9 elements of hip hop. And this is our next segment. And we're here with Mr. Montu Miller, a hip hop guru, I like to say, because he has done everything that you can do in hip hop, as well as from emceeing, managing, publishing, teaching artists how to copyright their music, actually gathering shows for artists to get paid, to move them from just regular performing to being paid artists, to also owning his own label, to also shooting videos, to bringing collaborations from artists from all different genres to come together to do different things. He has been one of the pioneers and one of the pillars here in this community, but not just in this community. See, that's the thing people miss. Mr. Miller has gone all over the continental United States with hip-hop music, and has gone outside of the boundaries and the borders of the United States by going on to several different continents to share in hip-hop music. So what I'm saying is that we have a plethora of experience, and I want him to speak to you guys about some of the different things that it takes to actually get to where he is. Okay, you're looking at the business owner now, the educator now, but he was doing a lot of this while he was in school, working jobs and everything, but still being that fuel for somebody else's dream that he was trying to ignite. And he did that. And I just want you to understand that you're looking at the finished product, and he's still working on it. But there was a lot of work put in to doing, and as we call it, grinding. It was a lot of it put in before he got here to help others as along the way. And that's what I want him to speak to. Montu, would you talk to us about being out and taking hip hop from a local area or a region to go into somewhere else and promoting your music and to going on stage? And you definitely know I want to talk to you about the Boogie Down Productions, but I'll wait for that one.
Absolutely. So I came to Athens about '99. There was already hip hop here. They were already doing their thing, but there was really no like a constant movement downtown. So I was kind of in the movement that helped push hip hop downtown. And this was why I was actually going to the University of Georgia. And we was grinding. Like, we started in the lounge. It was my apartment, and eventually that got too big where we had to go downtown. And there was always we kind of had this elite MC named Issues, right? And he was just doing it. Like, he was doing it. Like, he was winning freestyle battles. He was going, like, do shows out of town. But we got this opportunity where he went to go try out for KRS-One, which, you know, KRS-One is like one of the pioneers of this whole culture. Mm-hmm. And he got it. But it's funny because KRS-One I think the first date was at Richmond, Virginia. KRS-One said, "You can go on tour with me, but I just need you to be in Richmond, Virginia." And I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks from that date. He ain't giving us nothing to go. I just need you to be there. And me and Ish, I literally, honest with you, I was going to Georgia, had an apartment, things was going okay, and I literally dropped everything. Like, I just dropped out of school, dropped out of everything, and went to Richmond with Issues. And then from there, like with Ish and KRS-One, we did the West Coast. We did all of it. I think it was like 12 dates altogether. It was California, Las Vegas, somewhere else in Tahoe. And then we did a little bit of the East Coast, and then I had to jump back off the tour actually, and Ish went on and did the Midwest, and it was an experience because me and Ish, like, we grew up with KRS-One sort of being like our godfather. You know, he was one of the ones, like, so for me to be on tour with him, I felt like in a sense, I had made it. You know what I'm saying? Like that to me, that was making it. You know, and then, but at that point, I was an archivist, so I was filming everything. Like KRS-One was letting me be on stage while he was rocking, while Ish was rocking, and I was like filming everything. So I still got that tape. I still ain't really done nothing with it. But so I guess the main thing is I can remember, like, I'll tell you our story real quick when we was on tour. I forget what date we was going, which date, but for some reason we didn't get paid what we thought we was going to get paid, and we ain't had no gas in the car, and we had to get to this next date, and we sitting there in the van, and Ish was like, "We'll be all right." I'm sitting back there tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like, we out here in California, we ain't got no money, and we just parked. And Ish was just like, "It's gonna be all right." This lady saw us sitting here, and for some reason, I guess she just knew, like, we needed some help. We was like, we need to get some gas to get to the next date, and she gave it to us. You know what I'm saying? So it was, but we always felt like, and Ish always was strong-willed like that. He knew it was gonna happen, but to us, it was like, no matter what we was gonna do, we was gonna make it. You know what I'm saying? Like, the universe was gonna take care of us. Like, everything that was going right was taken care of. So we know we doing the right thing. We was on a righteous path. So like, couldn't nothing stop us. And I felt like we was like some monks out there on the road. You know, like one time KRS-One set us down. It was like, y'all are the next. You know, y'all are the next wave. It was like, I don't know, it might have been like 12 of us. There was some MCs. There was some managers. I was archivists. Like, we was just out there. And he's like, y'all are the next wave. And be honest with you, like, I took it personal. You know what I'm saying? So when I came back to Athens, we was already doing what we was doing. Like, I started hitting the ground running. You know what I'm saying? I could have went back to UGA, didn't do it. I was like, nah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. My godfather told me this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And we paved some way downtown in Athens where there used to be shows. Like, we did festivals. We did a lot of firsts in this city that, like, that just really made the scene what it is today. And it's built up to the point where now they're doing shows all over, and you know, we got people that's, you know, school board, like, hip hop is everywhere in Athens, and a lot of people don't even realize it. I know that was like kind of long-winded.
No, that's perfect for what's going on, because you're summarizing, but you can't give us every detail, but
right.
I love the fact that you even shared with us that, hey, you was out in California in a van, okay? But your mind was set up on the next date, okay? And you said something. We didn't have gas money, but guess what? You say, but we still knew we was gonna make it. Yeah. See. So your attitude was still positive on the climb and on the chase, and that's what I thought hip hop really did for us. That it gave us a way to stay positive. Even in the midst of negativity floating all around you, it gave you a way to float above the negativity, you know, and express yourself and move forward. So that's why I love this piece. But I gotta ask you, and I know y'all thinking, but I gotta ask you, because KRS-One is a legend in hip hop music. Okay, he is the real teacher. Okay, but Montu, you had a view of being with one of the legends in hip hop on a everyday basis. So you had a chance to go to original boot camp and know how to be trained on the road, how to handle business on the road. Would you speak to that in the aspect of how many others, you know, can get that experience? So you got an experience that most people hope to get, but you actually got it, lived it in, came back and applied it into your own business.
Yeah, it was like, to me, because I had dropped out at UGA, and to me it was continuing education. Like, I was still being educated, and I was being educated by one of my pioneers, you know, one of the godfathers. So, like, anything he said, like, we was just hanging on every word. And like I said, he pumped me up to the point where when I came back here, I didn't even think about going back to UGA and finish. I had 1 year left. I had a year left, and I said, school ain't gonna get it, this gonna get it. You know, so, but it was tough, and KRS-One showed us in our music, growing up with this music, and he showed us even being on the road that, like, we can do this. Like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You do whatever you do at your highest level, but you gotta go get it. That's why to get to that first date, he ain't give us nothing. It was up to us. And be honest with you, so it's probably like, I don't know the exact number, but it was like probably about 12 of us total but he probably told about 30 to make it to Richmond, and only about 12 of us made it there.
Wow.
You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? So it was like those experiences on the road that like made us be who we are today. You know what I'm saying? And I like how you put that, because it was a boot camp, but I felt like the education I was getting on the road was just as valuable, in fact, in my life and in my experience, more valuable than the education that UGA was giving me. Like it wasn't even close. You know what I'm saying? They're like, you supposed to go to school, whatever, UGA, whatever. But I was like, this educating way more valuable than going to some UGA. You know what I'm saying? They ain't teaching me, but I could go read that myself. Like this experience, like not being scared to get out there, and that's why I try to tell these young artists now is. A lot of them be in town and they get stuck in town, but I'm like, you don't have no girlfriend, you don't have no kids, just go. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be all right, man. And I think sometimes we get scared. Sometimes we get scared of being successful. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what we going to do. So, yeah, man, that KRS-One experience, and, you know, that's why I thank Issue all the time, because I couldn't have did it if he hadn't been like, "Dude, let's go." You know, me and Ish was like, he said, "Let's go," and I said, "Let's go." And to this day, Ish still doing music. You know, I don't do as many shows and whatnot lately, but like I'm still like you said, I'm in an AM, and my wife told me I have to start embracing it, because for a while I was like not embracing. Everybody like, "Montu, you the OG, or you the pillar," and all this. I'm like, nah. But she told me to start embracing, and he's right. Like I am a pillar in this community. You know what I'm saying? I did push open a lot of doors, and you know what I'm saying. Now I got young kids looking at me like I was looking at KRS-One like I'm their godfather now. So if I was taught by him to do things a certain way, that's how I try to give the youngsters. You know what I'm saying? That's why even when I'm at school, you'll hear my students all the time be like, "Yo, Mr. Montu, you strict," but in like, you know, a day or two later, we chopping it up. I'm playing some hip hop on the thing, and we whatever like, and they gravitating to my room because they know I got standards. But like he cool as hell, like he's hip hop, you know what I'm saying? So like I'm teaching. KRS-One didn't give it to us, so I'm not giving it to none of these young people. You know what I'm saying? Like you call me a gatekeeper, you can call me whatever, but like there's certain things that like we gotta find the value in them and continue for the value to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Because we just devaluing ourselves and devaluing things so quick these days because we don't got no attention span, man.
Yeah, that's real.
So I got a question. Have you ever had someone that doesn't like believe in you and what you can do?
Oh yeah, my whole life. My whole life, man. I mean, I was sort of an overachiever my whole life just because everything I did on a high level, but I've always had, you know, people that's just try to be in front of us, you know, even coming downtown Athens, like, you know, venues owners didn't want hip hop. I've had teachers when I was at UGA that I could tell the way they look at me because, like, I'm the only black male in class, and I could tell the way they look at me like, "Oh, he ain't gonna make it," or whatever. And I'm doing high-level art, you know, high-level writing or whatever it is. So we gonna always have that. Hip-hop's always had that, and that's why I say we knock down doors, because every door you put in front of me, I'm just gonna push it open.
That being said, we will now move into a commercial break.
Welcome back to Education Matters, the official voice of the youth. My name is Kareem Lumpkin, and join me on my co-host,
Aiden, Dowdy.
Thomas Smith.
Kai Gaines.
and we are here with our guest, Montu Miller. But before we start today's show, Aiden will give us our history back on hip-hop.
In 1989, Young MC released a debut album, Stole Cold Rhyme, on Delicious Vinyl. The album went double platinum and reached number 9 on the charts, propelled by the crossover success of the album's structured tracks, Bust a Move.
And bringing us back, I just want to ask, what are your opinions on today's like lyricists such as J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar?
So I love them both. Like, I love where they're going with it. You know, I love, you know, I call them wordsmiths.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, they're taking them words and manipulating it and just having a good movement. And thing that I like about, especially those two names that you named, is like they don't feel like they have to like bling out there. Like they ain't gotta like, you know, just have all the flash and pizzazz. You know, they just rhyme.
Yeah.
So I dig them. I dig them on that level. Yeah.
Mr. Miller, how do you feel education plays a part in hip hop?
Well, a couple different ways. Because you can use hip hop. Because right now, what I eventually I think I'm going to get my doctorate in is some form of hip hop pedagogy, like how you teach. So nowadays we're using hip hop in the classroom to educate our youth. So I think it plays a major role, as well as, I mean, a lot of times people are educated by what they listen to. You know, it might not necessarily be the best education, it might be miseducation, but like when I was growing up, you know, I got a lot of education. Like only reason I knew about like Malcolm X and certain people was because of hip hop. You know, so hip hop made me curious. So I think that's what hip hop does when it's in the classroom too. It makes you curious. Like it allows you to be safe enough and comfortable enough to, in your own skin, to ask them questions that you probably wouldn't normally. You know.
And going off of that as well, I wanted to ask you, how do you think the culture of hip hop has affected the culture of our society today?
Oh, in major ways. I mean, fashion, in education. Hip hop is in almost every aspect of life now. You know, I mean, we have like hip hop mayors now. I mean, we have people who've grown up in this culture that like we're pretty much doctors, lawyers, like you name it, trash men, parapros, we're everything. So I think the thing that we, especially as older hip hoppers, have to do though is like we have to start applying this knowledge. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of people my age that like have the knowledge, but they're just not applying it. Because I mean, you know, a lot of us got disillusioned or we hit a wall because we felt like we were spinning our wheels. So a lot of my generation kind of like, I ain't gonna say gave up, but kind of gave up. We just stopped. It was like, you know, I can't do it no more. So we have to pick that fight back up. So I'd say every aspect of society right now is you know, all the way down to, you can look at the biggest protests in American history, 2020. Like that was hip hop driven. You know, all the movements, everything that's going on right now is driven by hip hop.
So what do you have to say about people saying that hip hop and rap are the same thing?
Okay, so you have to think about it like this, right? Rap is what we do. Like when you rap, like you're rapping. It's a form of our language. It's a form of how we speak. So when you're talking about a rapper, they're rapping. You know what I'm saying? Rap is what we do. Hip hop is what we live. Hip hop is the culture. You know what I'm saying? So, but rap is just a piece of the culture. But I get what people are trying to do, but they're always trying to do that. They always want to create this divide. So then they'll say, that's rap and that's hip hop. You know what I'm saying? But the people that they would call hip hop are rapping too.
Come on.
You know, I get what they're trying to do, but at the same time,
it's a controversial question.
Yeah, and we fight that. I fight that battle because even with some heads that agree with what that statement says, but I just personally don't, because, you know, I was always taught by, you know, great man, KRS-One, you know, rap is what we do, hip hop is what we live, and it's something I live. So there are some people that are rapping that don't live hip hop.
Come on, that's what I was going to say.
But they're still using a piece of my culture, so, you know, yeah.
Do you feel like hip artists and hip hop have to like write their own stuff or basically that's my question.
It happens it's just like being an artist in whatever medium you use, whether it be, you know, rap or painting or whatever. Like people use things, right? So there's a lot of hip hop artists, even older hip hop artists, that didn't write their own rhymes. You know, so some do, some don't. You know, it's just kind of like it is. I kind of parallel it to, you know, there's teachers out there, right? Like me. Sometimes I write a lesson plan from the bottom up. Like I completely just know there's nothing on the paper and I create the lesson plan. And other times I get online and find other lesson plans and teach that. It's about the message. Like it's not necessarily, you don't have to be the writer all the time. But, you know, there are some hip-hop artists that are just skilled like that and that are elite. And be like the more elite MCs, the more elite rappers that they're writing their own rhymes and, you know, they're able to do that. But not everybody can do that. Some people just sound good, but they can't write good. So they need a combination to like help them like get to where they need to get. You know.
And I think you've already answered this question, but like, what made you like get into the question about hip hop?
Well, maybe get into the question about hip hop.
Well, not the question, but like, what gave you the perspective on hip hop?
I think I was just because I was born into it. You know, my brother started listening to tapes. Next thing you know, I was listening to tapes. Next thing you know, I was really involved in hip hop. Like, you know, I think it was where I was at. It was just kind of coming up. We was in my middle school, and it just kind of building. And I think how I came up in the time I came up in hip hop, like now that I'm out here old enough, then yeah, I'm putting on my own shows. Yeah, I'm trying to push young artists because, you know, that's kind of how I was taught with, you know, with Public Enemy and KRS-One, and you know, they taught us how to use hip hop, how to use that tool, how to use that culture to better the community. So that's what I have to do with it. Like I have to do that. It's a duty. I'm duty bound because I was born into this. I could have easily rejected it and went somewhere else, but I'm duty bound because I gravitated toward it, and it gravitated toward me, and just kind of created what you see in front of you.
And with that being said, going back to the culture aspect of hip hop, in what ways, do you think the culture of hip hop has shifted in any way since your time?
Absolutely, but every culture evolves. I mean, I don't care. We just happen to be one of the youngest, actually the youngest culture on the planet right now. But every culture evolves. I mean, you have cultures that are thousands of years old. So obviously, I mean, we're 50-ish, and there's thousands of years old culture. So you're gonna have these cultural shifts that sometimes go places that you don't like. Then there's gonna be cultural shifts that you're into. Like, you know, a lot of people my age is like, oh, remember the '90s, the golden era? Like that was when the shift was where we was like, you know, it was more comfortable to us. But now sometimes the shift might be going somewhere where you ain't necessarily feeling it, but it's okay because it's gonna evolve and it's gonna be another shift. But the shift depends on what you do to apply it. Like if you just let it run wild, you know what I'm saying? If you let some youngster run wild, they're just gonna run wild. But that's why you have to, like, if you want to affect this cultural shift, you have to do things in your everyday movement. Like whether, I don't care what you do every day, you have to be doing something to push the agenda and shift it. Like I'm an educator. I teach at Cedar Shoals High School, so that's what I do every day. And I got kids. So I'm trying to get it out to my kids. I'm trying to get it to my students. I'm trying to get it in situations like this. I'm trying to get it to the college students when I go to speak in the classrooms. Like they know when they see me, like I'm pushing the agenda that way. So I can't never say that, like, oh, if it ends up and it's actually in a place that I'm not necessarily totally comfortable with, you can't blame me. You know what I'm saying? That's just the cultural shift that happened. I'm only one person. Even this movement's only one movement. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to have cultural shifts that we don't like. I mean, every culture's went through that. You know, you can look at the bad phases of any even thousands of year old culture, like Chinese and all these other, like they had some bad years. You know what I'm saying?
It's real. It's
Do you feel like artists back then in the 80s and the 90s have an impact on how the culture of hip hop is today and the future?
Ask that again.
I asked that, do you think like the artists from like the 90s and 80s have an impact on today's society and the future?
Yes, because all of the elements have evolved to a point where they're just like it's so live now. I mean, now it wasn't like, that's the wrong word. It's so like intricate now. Whereas like the rappers back in the day, like they was putting words together, but it was almost like to what we doing now is elementary. Even though them was the GOATs, even though, you know, and then Rakim came in. So, but now like what Nas and Lupe are doing with words, how they're manipulating words and double entendres and just putting these words together, and like it's evolved. But guess what? There wouldn't be a Nas without a Rakim. You know what I'm saying? There wouldn't be a Rakim, you know, without the earlier forefathers, last poets, and all these guys. So it's like they still affect hip hop today because we wouldn't exist without them.
Come on,
you know what I'm saying? So they're still here, and I'm happy to see during this 50th year a lot of a lot of the pioneers and old school heads is actually getting, you know, their flowers right now. And I hope that it opens up a portal where just like these rock bands that are like 50 years old, they're still selling out arenas, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason why hip hop shouldn't be doing that either. Like with these old school guys, they should still be selling out arenas too. But you know, so I'm hoping that the shift to like look at where this thing came from can like get these older artists and these older pioneers like in better positions, because some of them went through some times where they weren't in a great position. But now hopefully we can get some real money in their pocket. Maybe this time, because they're not starting from an uninformed place, they can actually like bank on it. A lot of them had to go through it where they had to go through the not having their publishing and getting paid nothing. But now these rappers today, you know what I'm saying, you only doing that now, you only got them stacks, and you know what I'm saying, because of these kids, you know, these heads ahead of you went through like the bad deals, and now we understand it a little bit more. So it's the older generation always should be valued, even to what's going on today, because like they paved the way for us.
Come on, yeah. Cause without them, you wouldn't know what a point was on a album.
That's right. That's right.
You wouldn't know what a residual was, because you couldn't own your masters.
It's unheard of at one point.
You couldn't get a production deal on your own. Okay, older cats paved the way, putting up with taking losses. Okay, they took a loss so you could make a gain, but now you believe you the one make it rain. I say it again for you. I know it's hard to explain, you know, but they had to take a loss so you could get the gain, but yet you still believe you make it rain. Let me explain.
Make it rain.
See, rain is drops that fall from the sky, but the only reason you fly is because you ain't afraid to fall out the sky. I'll keep it real for you. Okay? See, and that's what Mr. Miller is speaking to, that brothers and sisters back in the day, they wouldn't get paid $1 million stacks. Okay? But without them laying the foundation, where do you stand? Your house is built on sinking sand without their foundation. Do you understand what he's really trying to say?
Yeah.
So that's why he's saying he's so happy to see them getting the, because, okay, one of the tightest MCs in the game, I was so glad they finally recognized him, Busta Rhymes, man. Busta been one of the tightest. I got a chance to beat Busta and the Lost Boys at the University of Florida. Went on stage, and guess what? I had a chance to battle Busta Rhymes.
Busta's a beast, man.
Busta a beast.
Yeah, I saw him in Atlanta with Wu-Tang maybe 3 months ago.
Yeah, he still got it.
Stole the show.
Yeah, he still got it, okay? Even at the University of Florida, standing on stage, I'm looking at one of the dudes that I love. I'm getting ready to sing his song, Break Your Neck. I'm finna sing his song, and he was like, dude, you kind of got skills. Let's get down. I'm like, hold on, you really? He was like, yeah. I'm like, bet. My partner gonna say, that's Busta Rhymes. I say, do you understand how many times you get a chance to stand on stage with Busta Rhymes?
Never.
And the Lost Boys, and I'm gonna get a chance to battle? I did my thing. From doing that. Look, from doing that. Trust me, from doing that. When a guy like Busta Rhymes tell you, hey man, you got skills, that's all I needed. It wasn't about winning the battle, okay? Okay, you gotta think about it. It's 40,000 people came to see him, so you ain't gonna win the battle.
Right.
But for him to say in front of 40,000, hey bro, you really, you nice with it.
That's
I knew
inspiring.
then I was official then, okay? I knew I was official. And after that, okay, I caught my deal. I caught my tour with 8 Ball and MJG. I went 27 cities as the DUI, the disciple under intelligence. And that's why I feel what Mr. Miller is saying, okay, listen. It is so rough, because when I heard 8 Ball and MJG story about the bad deal, I was flabbergasted. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, so y'all famous. And he was like, we ain't make no money off the first album. I couldn't believe it. And you know, we had a bunch of songs. I was like, wait a minute, you didn't make no money? He was like, we didn't make no money. Now, everybody knew us, but we didn't make no money. And I found out why. Like he said, the company who had signed them collected all of the money. And that's what I love about you, brother. You teach your artists the business.
That's right.
You think about it. When nobody trying to teach us the business, KRS what taught you the business. That's what I'm talking about. So you learn to thrive in it. A lot of cats get in and take a ride and then just ride off into the sunset. Right. You actually learn the business to teach it to others and how to use it and apply it. And that's what's so powerful that, you know, hip hop has made more millionaires than any other business in the last 50 years. Oh, I thought I dropped that nugget on you.
Yeah, that's a nugget.
But that's true, you know. So I just think about that, man. And we got a few more minutes, but we're going to take a commercial break before we get ready to end this segment right here. And we'll be right back with Mr. Montu Miller on 50 Years of Hip Hop on Education Matters, the official voice of the youth.
And you're back with Education Matters, the official voice of the youth. Education Matters is sponsored by your local internet station, MeU Radio. Check it out on MeURadioAthens.com.
All right, and we're diving right back into the 50 years of hip hop with Mr. Montu Miller. As our guests, we have Kareem, Aiden, and Makai, and Thomas. And we are having a great time. Jose is on the camera right now. And yours truly, the original hip hop educator. Nobody does it greater here at MeU Radio Athens. And we're sitting with one of the hip hop gurus, pillars of hip hop here, humanitarian award winner. That's one thing I want y'all to know too, okay? Really a humanitarian, step out there. But we were Mr. Montu Miller, educator at Cedar Shows, but he's also been an educator at Clark Central. And Mr. Miller has also been an educator right out here in the neighborhoods for communities all around this area. So Mr. Miller, I want you to just take us down memory lane in just the fact of, I remember you working with young people in this community, no matter whether they went to your school or not. I've seen you work with young people. Teaching them all parts of business, but work ethic. And I heard you say something about being a mentor to them. You wanted to give something back. We had to give something back. But I love, you call it community outreach and bringing everybody together. Will you tell us what fuels your passion for community outreach and how hip hop has played a role?
Well, hip hop played a role because I am hip hop. So, but I guess I just I feel like I'm duty bound to do this. You know, especially like it's sort of like, you know, once you take that red pill, like once you know the truth about certain things, like it's hard. It would be hard for me just to go home and just like not do nothing for the community, because I know our community is hurting. So I'm trying to like help do whatever I can within my capacity to turn this ship around, you know, to save these little black boys, to, you know, educate the youth and actually educate them in a way where there's not holes in their education. Like when they go through a system, they can actually go and by the end are prepared for college, or prepared for the military, or prepared to go to work, or prepared to go to trade school. Like whatever your lane is. Mm-hmm. Then that's what I want you to just do it on a high level. Like everybody's not going to college, everybody's not going to the military. Maybe you want to open up your own business, but whatever that lane that you decide to go down, like I want you to do it on a high level. And to be honest with you, the way it should be is these schools should be preparing, because they're not like we every day are fighting this battle to do that and educate the youth. Like I feel like, I guess like I said before, I'm just duty bound. Like I wake up every day like trying to figure out like what's the next step, what we need to do, like how do I need to do it. Like got to teach these kids differently now, because how I was teaching them 2 years ago is not working. So but I got to be able to evolve. Like I can't just be like, oh, you have to learn this way. Like no, I have to understand the youth. So because I'm getting older. I'm 48, but you know, I'm hoping to train up some soldiers and help train up some soldiers. So when I can sit now I want them to come and be like, Montu, you can sit down now. We got it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you know, I'm hoping to train up my kids, students, and everything, so they can just say, okay, it's our turn. You sit down. You know, and hopefully by the time they get to their turn, it's like they ain't having to. It's a little easier. Like, you know, I've paved a little bit of the way, and you don't have to go down those like empty and dead roads that I had to go down. Let's just go shoot straight for the stars in whatever lane it is you decide to go down. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's real.
We have our essential question. Why is education important to you?
Because it is my life. Everything about everything about education is my life. It's my job, it's my career, it's my kids, it's every day I wake up. So like education is my life. It's hip hop. It's something that's a tool to be used to better the community. It's life. Educate. You can't you get stuck spinning your wheels, or you get stuck just being in one spot if you don't educate yourself and help educate others, because then it just allows us to move and become a movement.
And with that, I want to ask you, how do you think the pandemic impacted hip hop?
It impacted it impacted hip hop in several different ways, because I mean some people was working on some albums then, and then now they coming out with, and it's so sharpened some people's skills. Some people just sat there and did nothing. You know, it's just like, I guess to answer your question, like it impacted hip hop just like it impacted everybody else. You know, because like hip hop is filled with all kinds of different people, where some people use that time to get better and get sharper, and some people use it to, you know, gain a few pounds and get weaker on the mic. You know what I'm saying? So, but I will say this: it allowed a lot of hip hoppers to start understanding the power of the internet and content creation. So, I mean, it was already there, but like when you could make, now these hip hoppers could make money just putting out content. They started to realize that, and it just keeps going and going and going. And now you have people that literally live their life just by being content creators.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just to be cool, like, you know.
Thank you for listening to Education Matters, the official voice of youth. Education Matters is sponsored by Radio-Athens.com. If you missed any part of the program or would like to hear it again, it can be heard Monday at 5:30 p.m. or Tuesday at 10 a.m. on Radio-Athens.com. You can also listen on demand at YouTube channel Education Matters Network.